Well, it just makes sense that anytime we stop or pause a machine that we might want to resume it at some point. And so let's talk about resuming a virtual machine. Once you've paused and suspended a machine, you can easily get it going again. To resume a paused machine, you're just going to click the play button. You'll see a little green triangular play button on the virtual machine display in Workstation, and I'll show you that in just a minute and demo that. Or you can just go into the VM menu item in Workstation and just uncheck the pause. That's a little toggle switch. I'll show you that in just a minute. Now when we start to think about resuming suspended machines, the plot thickens just a bit, and I'll talk about some of the options. We can go to the VM menu item and choose power and see our options. There's going to be a couple of them there, or we can just click on the toolbar. Now, like everything else here, if we just click on the toolbar, it gives us a default, or we can get the drop down and see those options. Now here are the options. When I'm resuming a suspended machine and I'm using VM power or the drop down on the toolbar, whatever, the two options that are available, big surprise here, just like everything else in Workstation, I have a hard option and a soft option. The hard option is also known as resume, and the Workstation just resumes the virtual machine from the suspended state. It says, okay, boom, there, you're back. You asked for it, you got it. The soft option is called resume guest. And with the resume guest, it resumes the VM virtual machine from the suspended state, but then it goes one step farther and it reconnects the virtual machine to the network. Now think what can happen here. If I suspend a virtual machine, that means it's no longer connecting on the network. It may time out from processes it's connected to. Other processes that are connected to this may time out, and so we may need to reconnect this thing to the network. Now, if I use the toolbar, the power control setting for that virtual machine is going to determine how it's resumed. And I'll show you that right now. Let's jump out to the Workstation interface. Okay, so here we are in the Workstation interface, and notice the XP Professional machine. If I kick it into the larger mode here, and if I go to VM and just choose pause, you'll notice the machine just paused, and I've got this neat little green arrow right here, and I can just click on that and it unpauses it. I can also come right here, pause it, and then I can come right here again, and you'll notice it's a toggle, and I can unpause it. Now I can also right click on the machine right here and pause it, and then just click on it to unpause it. This is when you want to stop it just for a few minutes to grab the CPU utilization this machine is using, and then start it back up in a few minutes. It'll hang on to its RAM when you pause it, okay? But now let's talk about suspending it. Notice if I mouse over this, it's going to suspend the guest operating system. Well, I will click that, and notice it's saving the virtual machine state, and you'll notice that I now have the option of resuming this virtual machine. Notice down here I've got the little state telling me here, the little icon telling me that this one has been suspended. Now when I mouse over right here, notice it's going to resume this guest operating system. Well, if I go to VM power, notice I get two options, resume guest and resume, okay, hard and soft, or actually hard, soft. And if I click the drop down here, I get hard and soft. Okay, well here's what's driving that. You've seen it before. If I go in and edit my virtual machine, go to options, go to power, it's looking at the power option. So if I set it to power on and mouse over this resume right here, notice it says resume this virtual machine. Well, if I go out here and I set this to startup guest, then notice it says resume this guest operating system. Now keep in mind the subtle nuances there. If I'm powering up for the first time and I turn the machine on, it'll turn it on, and if it was in a state when it went down, I'll see that state again. If I do, on the power on, if I choose to power the machine on, to power the guest on, then it's going to restart the entire machine. So those little nuances are going to come into play on you here. So that's how you determine these, okay? Well, I'll just hit the resume here, and you notice it's going to restore the virtual machine. It's going to bring it back up, and everything is good to go again, okay? So make sure you understand these little nuances. I hope it didn't confuse you there, but work through these on your own and make sure you understand them. From time to time, it can make the difference between your machine coming back up, but it's not on the network, or things don't look right, or things aren't behaving right. It may be that you need to use the soft option and kind of let that thing not just come up in your world, but also let the network know, hey, I'm back here, everything's cool. IP address is working and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's some of the nuances on resuming your paused and your suspended machines.